Welcome to Next Step Career Corner, the podcast where we take the overwhelm out of job searching and leadership transitions and turn them into clarity, confidence, and momentum. I'm your host, Stephanie Rank, certified professional career coach and resume writer, here to give you real-life strategies, honest insight, and practical tools you can use right now in your career. Each week, we're going to dive into topics like personal branding, job search strategy, resume writing, interviewing, leadership growth, and navigating change with intention. Whether you're making a move, leveling up, or reinventing what work looks like for you, this is your space to take the next step with purpose. So let's get started. Recently, I've had many episodes with female leaders talking about work and change and leadership and transitions and all of the difficulties that we have. And now I'm realizing that I have to go back to the basics. I have so many questions about resumes and LinkedIn profile and cover letters. And so today I did want to take some time to think about cover letters and to help everybody understand how to sound human in a very AI generated world. Recently, I took a training at the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches, PARC. And I was learning about digital strategies and what recruiters are doing, as well as what job seekers are doing. And interestingly enough, 75% of Fortune 500 companies are using AI in their applicant tracking systems, or ATS, right? Typical things, right? We're filtering, we're comparing resumes with the job posting, but now AI is even interviewing our candidates. More and more frequently, I'm hearing about video where, yes, you're on video, but you're actually not talking to a human being. It's not a Zoom or a Teams conference. You're being asked questions by an AI bot, right? And you think you're going to meet with a real person. And so we have all of this AI generated content that they're collecting, and then they're prioritizing it. On the flip side, ChatGPT and these other generative AI platforms are out, and 75% of job seekers, not surprises, same number, are using AI. Now, here's the fun part. At PARC, I run the resume writing exam process, and I see hundreds of resume templates and cover letter templates every year. It is surprising how many cover letters sound the exact same. Because think about it, I'm putting in my resume into this open generative AI, and it's pumping out the same cover letters. So one tip right now, if your cover letter starts with, I'm thrilled to be applying for this role at such and such a company, everybody else is saying the same thing, right? So how can we sound human? So I've taken some notes and I'm going to share this with you. So things that generative AI can't cover. It can't brand you. It can't think about your personality, right? It comes out with generic. I wrote some of these down. Generic phrasing. I'm writing to express my interest. I believe I would be a strong fit. Okay, there's no hook. There's no who are you as a person. There might even be a misalignment with the resume. Depending on how well you write your prompts, your resume might be over here circling in this AI world, and then your cover letter comes along later and it doesn't align. It also makes up information at times. I think my buddy, Mark Missiano, who's also a career coach, it told him that, one of his clients spoke this language that it was not true. I'm like, well, wait, where did that come from? So we have to be careful. Is it making your accomplishments more grandiose or too basic, right? There's just misalignment. There's no clear value proposition, right? What is the value that you bring? Why should I choose you, right? I have a grader on my team that asked the question, would this resume want me to call this candidate for an interview, right? So what do you bring to the table? I already know you're interested in the role, even if you write it out like you're applying. So what can you do for me? What can you do for this company? A lot of fluff. Holy smokes, the amount of adjectives that generative AI can pull out on any document. It's just get to the point, right? Forget it. I'm a hardworking problem solver with excellent communication skills. Okay, everybody can say that. I want examples, concrete examples. I want metrics. I want results. I want proof that you are an excellent problem solver with communication skills. How do you do that? Right. And then, of course, there's no emotional intelligence. There's no why. There's no connection to the company. So I know it's frustrating. I hear these numbers, hundreds and hundreds of applications that go out. Why do you care about the company? But the truth is, people are hiring for culture fit. So yes, you must do the job, but do you fit in the culture? Do you even care what this company does? I'm not going to hire someone that doesn't care about my clients landing jobs, right? I'm not going to hire somebody who just doesn't care about the values that we have. And so these bigger companies go in that direction as well. So I get it. You're applying hundreds and hundreds of times. You just need the job. But when you write that cover letter, that is the opportunity to pause and go, okay, why this company, right? Why do you care? So how can we make a strong branded cover letter for you? So human center hook. I love starting with how colleagues would describe my client or yourself, right? This is the type of person I am. Here's some quotes, right? You could talk about the mission. What is it about the mission that matters? And not in the generic way of like, okay, I obviously have looked at your website, but what is it that makes a big connection? I switched from post-secondary education to biotechnology for a short while. And the main draw for me was this company was working on therapies for Alzheimer's. And my grandmothers both had Alzheimer's, both of them, right? At different stages. And so I had that heart connection with there. Yeah, I could do the job. They weren't worried about that. But I think I was selected because I had a direct connection with it and it mattered to me. Maybe there's a leadership theme, or maybe there's a core skill. Maybe there's something that makes you special, right? What is unique to you? Your personal brand, your uniqueness. This is also something you could do. So what is it when it comes to the work and delivering a result? What are you known for? Even if you're entry level and you've had that one job, what can you do? Or as a student, what did your professors say about you? How did you work, right? So you can use that to talk about people, relationship building, communication, but not in those vague sense. Like think about how you can build your brand around these common terminology, but we hear it all the time in jobs, right? Relationship building is really important. How can you do that, right? Evidence-based bullet points. Oh my goodness. So the way I do it is a little blurb about here's my personality, here's what my colleagues say about me or my classmates or my leaders, a little summary of your experience, and then here's the leadership I bring, here are the core points that I bring, here's the value that I can bring, and then it's 3 to 5 bullets of whatever matters to the job. And there's some keywords there, right? And so it could be relationship building, and then the example of how you did it. And if you have a metric to go with it, even better, right? So relationship building, partnered with X amount of companies to build this new software implementation project and made $1 billion. Something like that would be helpful. So if you don't have a metric, how can you describe how you've done it, right? And so 3 to 5 bullets right smack in the middle. And then you can close out something about the company, something that you want to do for them. That connection with the company is key, right? But the bullets are what drive the eye. They'll go straight there. And if it aligns with the job posting, you have a better chance of getting that phone call. So yeah, skill, the action that you took, and the result. That's the key that you want to use. Passion with purpose, you want to connect that. So that paragraph connecting with the company, that is very, very important. So if you can go beyond the mission, what values do they have? What do they do, right? How do they impact your local community? How do they impact the nation or the world? How do they do that, right? And then I would say end with confidence, not desperation or aggression. I'm going to call you on Tuesday at 2 p.m. No, you're not. No, you're not going to call them. But you don't have to be, please consider me. Like we're not going that route. We're going, I'm very excited about this position and I would love to discuss my background in further detail with you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for reviewing my application, and you sign off, right? So there are many ways that you can connect with the company and then end on a solid note versus this, I'm going to call you or please consider me, right? So how can we bring your story to life, right? This is, they don't know you. Own your story. We all have threads. That's actually one of the best parts about being a career coach, because I will have a client that comes in and they might have jobs all over the place, or they might have different industries, and they're worried because they haven't figured out a niche. I don't care if it's been 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, but being able to pull that thread of like, oh, well, why did you go to this job, or why did you go to that company, and finding that thread, talk about it, right? For example, the ownership of my story is I've been coaching my entire career. I just never considered it in the beginning. Right after I got my business undergrad degree, I started at Veterans Upward Bound. It's over at Boise State. It's a federally funded program, but it was helping veterans transition or military servicemen transition from military to post-secondary education. So trade schools, full year degrees, 2-year college, whatever they needed, right? Education based. And then I moved and I went to UMass Medical School. And then I went to Biogen. And so in different ways in those roles, I was team lead. And for those that wanted to, we talked about what to do with their career and how they could move up or gain experience to move around, because the admin role for many was that stepping stone into their career. So if they were just a fresh admin, but they want to get into project management or marketing or communication, how can we connect them with those teams to take on little projects to gain those skills and then add it to their background? And then that thread suddenly came about. Yes, I was an admin, but I did this in this project, right? What are you proud of? Talk about that. I love that I started with veterans. And let's be real, if I hadn't moved to Boston, I'd probably still be there because I just loved working with those guys. Well, men and women, they were amazing, right? It was absolutely amazing. And then to see them succeed, or for them to come back, 2, 3, 4 years later and go, oh, hey, I graduated and I got this job. I talk about that, even though that was back in 2009 when I started. Speak with your real voice. I know that's really hard. But if you're too professional and too polished, it loses flavor. If you're too casual, it doesn't ring right. And so using the terminology that makes sense in your industry, but just write how you speak and see how it comes out. And then you go back and do the grammar of, oh, let me put a period here or a comma here. But let it show your enthusiasm and your passion. That's why I hesitate to write cover letters with AI, because it misses the joy that comes out, right? Do make it about the employer, right? There's so many cover letters I've seen where it's I. That's too much, right? You're going to talk about what you're passionate about, but how does it relate to the job that you're applying for? Why does it matter, right? So make it about them. Here's who I am. This is how I've worked. This is what I've done. And this is what matters to you. So again, I start with like, this is the description of me, personal, like what I'm like, a little summary of my background. So you get that I'm qualified, and then bullet. This is what you're looking for. This is how I've done it. Looking for, done it. Looking for, done it. And then you talk about the passion of why you want to work for this company. Why does it matter to you? Right. And if you can find that little detail that most folks that most folks won't see, or maybe there's some information because you have a referral, somebody on the inside, talk about it, right? Show that passion. And that's the key, is that this job. I mean, if you can look at the job posting and then look at your cover letter and go, oh, I have 3 to 5 bullets, and it's directly what they're looking for, they're going to know you're looking at it. In fact, Boise State Career Services they asked for human cover letters, and just to make sure you were following directions, they wanted a statement about Boise State Broncos in blue text. So anybody who didn't follow those instructions were out. So some companies can have a great sense of humor, and you can have fun with that, and you can show that you follow the instructions. So do make sure that you read through, because occasionally occasionally they do that. So really, I know generative AI can be fun. I use it. I'm not ashamed to say that I use it. I use it a lot for ideas, do it for research and then double research, because again, it can create incorrect information. And it's great for ideas. Even this podcast idea came from somebody actually asking me about cover letters multiple times. But sometimes I'm stuck. I'm like, oh, what do I talk about? What's going on in the world? And I have this conversation going back and forth. And I create some ideas. Some of my marketing comes from that. And then even doing deep research about this company. Again, you have to authenticate and check with links that everything is correct. But you can have a conversation about the role. You can have a conversation about the company. You can even go in there and make some prompts about comparing your resume to the job posting to make sure there are gaps. I had one client, I did that. I have this big, long, lengthy prompt that analyzes each job posting with the resume, and I send it to my clients. But this one client, it was like a 40% match. I'm like, this is a waste of your time. Don't even bother. You're not even close. If you're 70%, okay, let's look at the gaps and see what we can do. And a lot of times it's language. So, if you're transitioning industries, you might not have that industry terminology because you don't have that background. There's nothing you can do about it. But every blue moon will be like, oh, wait, did you use this technology? Oh, okay. Let's say, name the technology or name how it's similar to the technology they're looking for. Little things like that you can fix very, very easily. So it's not a terrible tool. You just have to know how to use it responsibly and ethically. And so if you're going in there and here's my resume and here's a job posting, write me a cover letter, you're not putting that human element into it. You're not putting your voice and your passion and your reasons. It may give you some ideas of talk about this, this accomplishment or this experience. That is great, right? But you should be writing it. You should be talking about why it matters and how it can work toward that job posting. So some notes I've written. AI is great for structure. It's great for formatting. It's great for writer's block. But you have to revise it. You have to personalize it. And sometimes it's just not worth starting there, right? Maybe analyzing what I should talk about. Maybe ask, what should I talk about in my cover letter for this role? And if it knows your resume, might give you some ideas. Then you can go from there. And you don't want to copy and paste from your resume because they've seen your resume. So maybe if you're talking about an accomplishment already listed on your resume and you bring it to the cover letter, expand on it. Give it some more details. Bring it to life. Right? The metrics on your resume are very much like, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. Here's my impact. This is how I, made results. Great. You have more freedom, especially if you have 3 bullets, maybe you have more freedom to add a little detail to that. Maybe you can talk about how you had to get buy-in from all the leaders, or maybe there was a specific challenge that you had to overcome, like nobody wanted change, right? You can add more into that. So, the cover letter, it may or may not be read by ATS. I generally think it's not. It's more the resume. The recruiter probably isn't reading it, but the hiring manager is. And so when the recruiter has said, okay, here's, 10 resumes, I've called these 10, I recommend these 5, and they send over those 5 to the hiring manager is reading every word. So don't waste that opportunity to have a cover letter that speaks to you, right? So don't 100% rely on a generative AI cover letter. Everybody else is going to sound the same. So what's the point? Take the time to make it about you, right? And so to recap, how I do it is describe what your colleagues or leaders describe you as, then summarize very quickly the background that matters, right? And then list, these are the skills, or this is how I can drive impact for you, something like that. And then 3 to 5 bullets of what they need in that job and how you've done it with that impact, right? And then close it out with how you care and have passion for this company, the product, the services, whatever they're doing. And then confidently, without being overly aggressive or too desperate, that you thank them for your time and you're really excited to talk about in more depth, but that you appreciate being reviewed for this job, right? So please make sure you're not 100% fully relying on generative AI. It's fun for ideas. It might help you create some parallels between the job and the cover letter and your resume, but write it for yourself. Put yourself into it, right? Add your voice. Thank you for listening to Next Step Career Corner. If today's conversation encouraged you or gave you clarity for your next step, make sure to subscribe and share this show with someone who could use it. For more tools, resources, or coaching support, head to nextstepcareerservices.com or connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and I'll see you in a couple weeks.